Yes.
Perfect.
A couple seconds there. Hello, it's Wednesday.
Yay.
I want to say Wednesday. Someone said that in the Philly area, that's how they pronounce it, like Wednesday or
Oh, that's
Sunday.
how all dads say it.
Oh,
Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday. Yeah, that's a dad
okay.
thing.
So I have Sarah Crossley with me. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello,
How are
everybody.
you?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm tired, but I'm
Yeah.
good. Been traveling
Tired,
and being busy.
tired mentally or physically?
Both.
Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference. Like one
There
you can
is.
kind of overcome, but like physical is fine, whatever you stretch. Mental is like a whole nother stretching thing.
Yes, and I'm a little bit mental just because I've been doing a lot of networking events, and that's something we'll talk about. Just that energy, right, and being on all the time, and being someone that is very social, but at the same time, I've come to find that I do need to have my alone time, and I feel like I'm a little bit more introverted these days
Yeah.
because
Well,
of it.
that'll definitely play into the conversation because you have to have it's like your recharge. Your phone can't go all day long and neither can you. I mean, it might be able to go 2 days if you get the new one and not an old one that starts to break. But no, that's when you have to have recharge to be able to go, go, go.
Yeah, we have met before. So we met at
Yes.
the NAMBA National Conference in Atlanta, where you're based out
Yes.
of. And I
Yes.
remember just meeting you and Brent and just that energy, right? Where we
Yeah.
kind of come into an event and we're just like hyped up. And I gravitated towards that.
Yeah.
But then getting to know Brent also with, energy and all of that, we realized too that we have to have that downtime. Like,
Oh,
oh my
you do.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brent is a go, go, go goer. And I used to think I was until I started working with him, but he's one of those. It's funny that you like mentioned like when we met, because that's another, I was thinking about this earlier, how do you talk about like building relationships and
Right.
everything, and like being present in those like moments when you meet somebody and like really engaging with them like right off the bat is
Mhm.
huge. And it's funny, you're like, oh yeah, we met at NAMBA in Atlanta. And I'm like, no, we were at the top of the W at like one of the events that somebody was hosting. We were sitting in the booth that's all the way on the left side of, or the right side of the building. And you were sitting right next to me right here. And I was right here. It's like, I remember all the details of when we met just because like you were one of those. I mean, Brent had already told me about you. He's like, I met this woman. She does marketing relationships. She's fabulous. And I was like, okay, I'm new. So, newer.
Yeah.
Need to meet her, but
No, but that's the key, right? Is being able to, I guess, like you said, you like feeling it in the moment, right? Because when we talk about manifesting things, you have to really put yourself in that moment. How do you feel? What are your surroundings? So I love that you even have that when you meet people in the
yeah.
first place.
Well, it's easier. I feel like some people, I think I'm just like this because I like to think that everybody can be, but I am very like see, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. That's just who I'm like trying to be present and then I see something. No, you're fine. But I'm an association person. So
Okay.
if I meet you and there's something around that's different, like if we were grabbing coffee or, if you said one certain thing, like I associate it back to that point. So if you kind of make that beginning of the relationship or like you get some unique piece about that person early on, then it's easier for me to remember. But I think it's easier for everybody to remember. Like you associate certain things because you have so many conversations, especially when you're at a conference where it's like, okay, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Sarah. I'm the director of marketing of Form Free. And who knows what else we're going to talk about. And then you move on to the next and you do the same thing over and over and over again. But
Yeah.
then you ask somebody like, do you have kids? Or, where'd you go to college? Do you like where you live? Or just like random things that nobody's expecting. Okay, see, there you go. So, yeah, that's me. That's me in a
Oh my
nutshell.
God. So how are you with names though? Because I am awful with names. I'm so good with faces. And just like you said,
Yeah.
I can with association, but when it comes to someone's name, hi Delaney, I am
That's my
the
roommate.
worst. And so are you good with names?
It depends. I think I
Okay.
used to be really good and now I feel like I'm bad, but I'm kind of So Brent and I have this joke that, from The Devil Wears Prada, when Meryl Streep is like, okay, you have to know like all the names. And like, so as they're walking up, it's like, this is this person, they work for this, whatever. And so compared, I am very good at names. However, I was realizing, I think the other day, I could not get somebody's name down, and I had to like figure out the association. Like, where did I see them? That's how I do it. I backtrack. I'm like, who is this person? I recognize your face. Where did I meet you? What conference was it at? What was it on LinkedIn or whatever? And then like name. So it depends. Sometimes it takes a little work, but I think if you repeat it, and I know a lot of people say that, but if you repeat it, you will remember it much better.
I've been doing that recently, repeating it, because I'm that person too that will meet someone and I keep seeing them, but never have said their name or forgot it. But at that point, I'm like, okay, I've been around this person way too many times where it's really embarrassing for me to ask them their name. And that used to happen to me when I taught yoga and cycle. I'd have people come into my class and I never caught their name, or I caught it and then I forgot it. And then suddenly it's like months in, and I'm like, at that point, I can't ask them their name.
You have to do the whole like, hey, you have to bring somebody else into the conversation.
I've done that before.
This is my friend Delaney, and then you kind of like leave it, and you're like, I would like to introduce you, and they're like, hi, I'm Delaney. What's your name? And you can figure it out. There.
I do that a lot. Yeah, when I know that I want to introduce someone to someone, but I don't know their name, so I tell them like, hey. So then they interject, and I do the same thing. I can tell when someone doesn't know who that person is. So I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Raquel. I actually did that yesterday. I ran into a realtor friend of mine, and I think she had forgotten in the moment because she was with her husband and didn't say anything. And I finally was like, hello.
Hey, I'm one of those people that like, I get to the root of the conversation, and because I want to build a relationship right off the bat. Like, I want to know your ins and outs. I want to know your, ups and downs. How are you feeling today? Your like lefts and rights. Like what makes you tick? What doesn't? Because then I'm able to work with you and, do other things. And so I forget to ask people's names. It will be like 30 minutes into a conversation and I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I'm Sarah, by the way, what's your name? So I like get down to the root of it. I know, what you talked about in your therapy session last week, and like what got you down this morning, and why you needed 5 cups of coffee today versus, green tea or whatever. And then I learn your name. So I kind of do it backwards.
No, you're just like I am in that respect, that I delve right in. Right. Like, so for instance, I got made fun of just the other day because I was waiting for a friend at a happy hour, and I sat there and he showed up, and I had already known all this information about the bartender. And I, we had already exchanged phone numbers, and he's like, do you need me to sit somewhere else? And so you guys can have your moment. But it's because there was like this crazy energy. And it turns out she was from San Diego as well. And she has a twin sister whose name is Raquel. It was like insane, but it all happened within like the first 5-10 minutes. And I love doing that. Like I'm that person where I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so the fact that you do the same, I feel like that's why we kind of had that like really cool chemistry and energy when we first met as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Christina's giving us tips. We need to use that one. Yeah. She was like, just say like, oh, nice to meet you. Name.
Yes.
Remember it. I'm like, need to do that.
And Christina's great. I do have to call her out because she is someone that I met through LinkedIn. We follow each other on Instagram, and she is not in the industry. Oh, okay, she was a preschool teacher, and I love because she's always so supportive and always jumps on these lives, and then she'll message me after. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. I appreciate you, Christina. But that's like what's really cool, right? Is that especially with COVID and everything going on, everybody was just online. So then how do you get that deep connection without actually meeting them in person? Because I have so many people that have never met me and they already feel like I'm family to them. And for me, sometimes I'm like, how is that possible, right? To have that like deep connection without having that person in front of you and feeling their energy. So I wonder like how that works for you.
Yeah, I think it would. Well, and this is kind of maybe a debate that we're about to get into. I'm just not like, you're the person who told me to like go and do videos on LinkedIn. You're one of the first people who did it. And so like my first LinkedIn video was because of you. And it was, I look back on it now and I'm like, oh God, like, because I was like, there's no way I can be like Raquel. Like she comes off so great on video. And for me, there is nothing in this world that can compare to an in-person
Yeah.
relationship or meeting. Like you just can't do it. And you can try and you do a great job of it. I don't. So that's like the opposite, where I'm like, get me on the road. And even if we have to spend, this amount of money for us to have one conversation and be in person, it's that important in business. And I'm kind of on the opposite side of you. Like, I think like social is great. And I've had a lot of people say, oh, I saw your post on social. Like, it's great to meet you in person, except, well, when I was posting a lot more. And then I know you have the same thing too. And, it is becoming the way that we communicate with people. But I think at the same time, it's so busy with so many other things. And you're like, I'm just trying to get to know this person. And Instagram's telling me, or LinkedIn's telling me that like, I need to buy these healthy chicken nuggets, or I need to like buy this pair of shoes, or, now I need to, the ads on LinkedIn is like, hey, you need a marketing B2B guide. I'm like, well, do I? Because these other 5 companies think I do. And I'm just trying to sit here and talk to Raquel, So
Yeah.
I think it's so hard to build the relationships online, and you can get so close, but you really need that in person. And that's where you and I can go like way out there on the whole energy topic and everything. But there's energy that people give off that, I can see like the way you're sitting right now, there's energy coming through the camera, and like the way that I'm projecting, there's energy, but it's not the same as like standing next to them and my energy like feeding off into your energy, Winston's favorite topic, clearly, but like our energy feeding off of each other, and that helps build that connection. Even just a handshake, like it's that there's something to it that is you can't get virtually.
No, but it's true. And then Brent just popped on, and what was your name again? But that was the thing with Brent, is that as soon as I saw him, he had this energy about him where I was like, I need to meet him. Like, that's who I want to hang out with. Like, he had a baseball cap plus his suit, everything. And so, yeah, it was automatic. But let's see what Molly had to say. That's one of the reasons Forum Free is so successful. Sarah Crossley really cares about and listens to their customers, so they build what's needed. I know easier said than done, but keep an eye out for Sarah Crossley and Forum Free. Hashtag building empires. I love it, Molly. Brent appreciates it too.
Oh yes, of course.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Oh, Dal, Brent. Yes, we were informed that Brent might mess around with us a little bit. Please do. I invite you to, Brent. I love that.
I've been instructed to keep an eye on you. That's funny. Molly and Jerry are fabulous. Those next ladies, like they have done. They are they're really good at building the relationships. And the more that I've worked with them, it's like they understand like putting people in the forefront, and that it's not just another conference where you have a meeting and this, and, they do their VIP lounge at the next conferences. And while you're sitting there getting your makeup done, like, you're meeting somebody, you're talking to somebody, like you're not on your phone, you're taking the opportunity to hang out with the person across from you or do whatever. And that's something that I learned from Brent, even if you're on your way to the airport, or you're on your way to a meeting or something, or you just feel like you have to be somewhere and somebody tries to talk to you, or there's an opportunity and you don't see it, like you just kind of keep walking. If you're not open to those opportunities, like they'll close in an instant. And there's so many around us. It's like, okay, sure, I got to get to the airport, but like I have 2 minutes to meet you and talk to you for like 2 seconds. And then that could open doors like way down the road.
Yeah.
And so I think
and I believe that even outside of business. I mean, even I do that all the time. Like, even on my way to the airport a couple weeks ago, I was chatting it up with the Uber driver. Turns out that he's looking to buy a home. So we exchanged. We've already exchanged. He already called me. I already set him up with a loan officer.
Oh, that's amazing.
In the car on their phone. And I try, when I'm in an Uber, I try not to be on my phone unless I have to. But I really try to take the time to have a conversation with the driver, because you just never know. There's been situations where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're from here or there, And even today, I was just at Best Buy and I walked out, and a guy, I like said bye to the woman, and she said something back, and then he was like laughing because I was like super smiley. So then as we were walking out to our cars, we had like a really nice exchange of like, smiling and asking someone how they're doing. And so for me, I actually thrive on just literally meeting as many strangers as I possibly can every single day. It doesn't matter where.
I feel like you're very similar. You're very similar to me in that way, where it's like you you love making people feel good. You
Yes.
love having a conversation and making somebody feel heard and understanding them and, really getting to know who they are as people, because that's what everybody wants. Everybody just wants to belong and feel appreciated and feel like they mean something in this world. I don't care if you say it or you don't think that you do, or it's not in the forefront of your mind, or like some more people want to belong than others, or like they just realize it more. But I think that everybody just wants to feel, they want to feel heard, they want to feel cared about. And it just, I was listening, I like got down the rabbit hole on Michael Ray earlier because you always comment on his stuff. And so I see it. And, it's just it's that energy connection. It's that, the smile that can turn somebody's whole day around. If you just smile at them and ask them how they are. Like same situation that happened to you at Best Buy. I was in the store the other day. I was at the rack, and the checkout guy, and it's just a mess in there sometimes. And so I get it. Like they just want to get people in and out. But the checkout guy, he goes, "How are you?" And I was like, "I'm good. How are you?" And he took a second and was like, "Wait, did you just ask me how I was?" I was like, "Yeah, duh. Like, how are you?" He was like, "Nobody ever asks me that." I was like, I'm getting chills.
That's what I said in the parking lot today, because the guy was surprised that I responded. I go, well, I told him, I said, out of respect, if someone's going to ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to, in return, ask them how they're doing. Why shouldn't we know how that person's doing if they're asking us? But they literally stop, and they're kind of like, wait, what just happened?
They're like, I don't know how I am. I guess they're like, I've never had to answer this before, but it was, to me, in that tiny little moment. But then then we were talking, and I was like, I'm just avoiding going to dinner with my friends. So I'm shopping longer and saying that I'm in traffic and, doing all these things. And we were just talking, and I was like, can I get your number? This is weird, but I feel like we should get coffee and hang out more. And it was just the cashier at, the rack. And I don't know. I feel like sometimes that catches people off guard, but I'm one of those people that I can meet you in 2 minutes. And if you have to leave, it hurts my heart. I'm like, I have to talk to you again. I will make an effort. You want me to fly out to have coffee with you? Sure. There's so many connections to be made. And yeah, it was funny that I was like, nobody's ever asked you how you are at work.
No, it's amazing. When same thing, but always just, and you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And it's I'd rather you talk about yourself than me talk about myself, because I talk to myself all the time. I'm the most analytical, overthinker. And so I'm constantly talking to myself. Yes. Are you kidding me?
I am too. I'm I have OCD. I've had OCD for a while, but it's not as extreme as it used to be. But as part of it is I obsess over things.
Yeah.
And I literally, so I don't really sleep well either, because I'll lay in bed and I just obsess, and I'm trying to tell myself stop thinking about that, or think about something else, but then I'll think about something else and obsess about that. So for you, how does that kind of affect you, just being so analytical, but at the same time, so good with relationships? Because I feel sometimes can be very separate for people.
It's hard.
Okay.
I would say you have to just focus. And I think that's the reason that I try and ask people about themselves so consciously, is because I will just start getting in my head and being well, let me say this. And then I'm thinking about this. And then I'm, on some other, train, and I am definitely the hashtag squirrel that was said. I'm one of those people too, that I'll just go everywhere. So focusing on being present, I think, is different than being present. If you're actually actively being present, and I don't know how to explain to do that. You just have to I am here in this conversation. I will be listening, and I'm not going to think about something else or get distracted by a comment or something. So I think it's hard because I don't sleep well either. It is, unless, especially if I don't work out that day, I'm gonna stay up all night long until 4 o'clock. I'm gonna constantly think about this idea, and then this one, and down the rabbit hole. And so I think when building relationships, if you are an overthinker, asking people more about themselves and really focusing on the other person kind of helps calm that down a little bit. No, because I don't know why, but it's you don't have to talk about yourself. You don't, oh my gosh, my computer's going to die. You don't have to talk about yourself. You don't have to, keep thinking and overthinking, etc. And so now I'm going down a rabbit hole, but it's complicated.
No, but it makes sense, right? And that's the thing is, you and I are those type of people that we really love to talk to people, get to know them.
Right.
So we also have to really kind of, I don't know how to explain it either. Where
I'm trying to get to the bottom of it and like explain it for people, because I feel like that's what we're on here. Let's help people like understand how to do that, but I can't explain it either, really.
Yeah, I think at least for me, what a big start was, and I've been doing this for a while now, and it made a difference, was I have my phone. I usually have my phone away from me when I'm in conversation or I'm out like having drinks with someone or dinner or any of that, where it sounds kind of lame that like that's a big deal. But do you know how many people have their phones out? You know what I mean? And that in itself is a distraction because you have notifications popping up. So for me, when I put my phone away, mentally it like totally changes things for me, where I just can become way more present. And so I think like the simple act of that, I think, is huge, and not many people can do it.
Wait, so now, okay, I think we're getting to it. Now we're actually going to be able to help people understand what we're trying to say. So with the phone thing and just like really being present, I think so many of us, and this goes back to social media and emails, and like I have to do something, you know, like today at 1:00 to 1:30, I was like, I don't have to look at email. I don't have to worry about LinkedIn. I don't have to worry about Slack. It'll still be there when I get there, and people know that I'm focused on this. So I'm staying here and I'm focused on this. And I think so many times, especially overthinkers, are like, okay, well, I can't enjoy dinner right now because I know that I have some email that came through that I have to get to. And you don't have to get to it right now. It's that whole, I have to get to the airport, so I can't talk to this person who's coming up to me who could open doors and, you know, get me a job or get the company that I work for, you know, a partnership or something like that. Like there's so many different things. I think it's just our lives are on these. Yeah. And that's where it's like, for building those deep, meaningful connections. I think the reason I hate these so much and saying like, you can't do it on social, is because they distract you so much when you are in person. Like, you know, you're walking through the conference hall like this. Like that is the, I mean, I've done that.
I'm guilty. Guilty as charged.
I know. I can walk and text, so I can like be walking.
Like almost run into someone and you're like, oops, sorry.
Right. And so it's like, you know, not doing that and just walking and making eye contact and smiling with it. Like we avoid eye contact so much. Like it's human nature to avoid eye contact, which is weird, you know, like it's just, and you make eye contact and it's like so uncomfortable for a second. And I think that's another thing, is the uncomfortability aspect. People don't like to be uncomfortable. I love to be uncomfortable. So I will put myself in those uncomfortable situations. Okay. Like, well, because uncomfortable
now, like it's thrilling to me now. It wasn't before.
Yeah.
But you're much younger than me. So for you to always already like that discomfort, like good for you. Because it took me years to get to that point where now it's like exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Like I know all the cell phone stuff. It's like, well, we all say it, but are we actually going to do it?
Oh my gosh. For me to be kind of like the third wheel. And usually I'm the third wheel.
I know, same. That's hilarious. Yeah, they definitely can be like a third wheel, but I think it's just, oh yeah, I lost my top. Another thing. I lost my top.
No, it's okay. I'm all over the place. Even my boss today was like saying something about it. He's like, Raquel is like a mile a minute. Her brain's all over the place. Not like in a bad way, but just kind of like warning the person of like, just, you know, like.
Yeah, I get it. No, I'll tell people that.
Everywhere, but yeah.
Well, I think you and I are high energy and we geek out on this stuff. Like relationships are our favorite thing. And I think like, another thing to touch on about relationship building is being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And I think so it's the uncomfortability and it's the vulnerability. They kind of go hand in hand. And it is really like when I entered the mortgage industry 5 years ago, wow, I think my anniversary is in 2 days.
Wow. Okay. So you were young.
College.
Yeah.
It was my senior year of college, and Form Free, I like met somebody that worked at Form Free and they brought me on for an internship, and then they brought me on full time after I graduated 2 months later. So thankful to Form Free, because who knows what I would have done after that. I wanted to be a therapist, and I guess now I kind of can be. But when I came in, it was my first year, and it was annual in Denver, and I think like 2017, and it was my first conference I had ever been to, and I was like, this is overwhelming. It was so much, and I'm a people person, but I was like, I'm in mortgage. I never thought I would be in this. I'm not well, I wasn't, now I'm better, like the financial literacy and everything. Like, I can't talk about the business yet. Like, I don't get it enough. And I felt like I had to. And I felt like I had to know everything, and like no mortgage, because I had to justify being at this conference and being there and talking to these kind of people. And then I just realized, you know what, let's just be vulnerable and say, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just got out of college. I love this opportunity. So like, who are you as a person? Do you, have kids? Like, how long have you been in the industry? Will you help me? All this kind of stuff, which I think is like really hard to ask for and realize, especially females, like we have the hardest time doing it. So.
Yeah. But I love that you mentioned vulnerability, because I was having this conversation with someone where we all want others to be vulnerable, right? But then when it comes to ourselves being vulnerable, it's really hard. And I tell people, like, how can you expect vulnerability from someone else if you're not willing to give it as well? And that's the hard part. I mean, I've gotten much better with it. Like I said, as I'm getting older, it's just so much easier to do so many different things. Right. Like, when I was younger, they're like, oh, wait till you get older. Wait till you hit like the 40 mark. You're not going to give a crap what do people think. And you're like, okay, whatever. And then you get to that milestone. And you're like, holy crap, it's true.
I really don't care. Like, I'll tell you about, and that's something too. I think if you want to build a relationship, you have to, if you are the active person in that conversation, like, I want to build a relationship with this person, you have to be the one who's vulnerable first. And you just have to, and it might not even be in what you say. It's kind of your energy too, that, like, I don't know everything. I come off as like, I'm very approachable. Like, you have to come off like that. And I think that it really helps people. Like, I've been told before, they're like, whoa, I did not think we would get down this rabbit hole of like sharing, our life stories and where we come from and the bad things that have happened and the good things that have happened, et cetera. He's like, how'd we get here? Like, I think I just do that to people really easily. Cause like, I'll tell you my whole life story. Like, you want to know like what happened to me in college? You want to know what happened to me when I was little? Go for it, cause I want to know everything about you. So I will let you, come into my world too. And I think
that's a gift. I think that because I realized that I'm that person too, because it was the same thing. Everyone's like, how did you get someone to literally open up in a way? Because I've had conversations where at the end people have said, I've never told anyone any of this. You're the first person. Right. I've never shared this. And I'm a vault. So I keep all that in confidence. And I really do take honor in that. Like, if it's very humbling when people are so open with you and tell you things that they don't tell others. And so I take that very seriously, but I didn't realize that it was a gift to be able to do that. That's why it's funny that you were saying maybe a therapist, because when you do all those personality tests and everything, one of the professions always psychologist. That's always like psychologist. And I was, our history major, marketing. And so a lot of times there's like parts of your personality that you kind of tend to forget because people are labeling you in a certain way. And you're kind of like, well, I kind of have to like hang out in that box. Right. And then suddenly you realize like, no, there's like, I'm really good at that too. And that's okay. Right. So it's kind of like varying that way too.
Well, you just have to let people be who they are. And I think in business, especially in our industry, it is one of those things. It's like, you have to be a certain way. You have to dress a certain way. You have to, and I am just like, I'm the opposite of rules. Like, that's just my human nature is, no, I want to wear, a really bright color instead of black or whatever. I mean, I love black too, but I just want to do things differently. And I think it's more fun to do things differently. And if you're allowed to be who you are and everybody's allowed to be who they are, then I think you create this whole ecosystem and this whole family, which I feel like the mortgage industry is such a family anyway. Like, we're so close knit.
It is. Yeah. It's incredible.
Such a family. And so it's like, well, why don't we get more vulnerable with each other? And I think it's really important to be vulnerable in business. And I don't think you get that a lot, but the business will get done. What gets the business done is people. Like, so people want to work with people. They don't want to work with businesses. Yeah. And so if you can make those relationships and make it seem like they care, like you want people to care about what you do and about you, then I think it's easier to build deep, meaningful relationships. But I mean, I could talk on this topic for like 5 hours,
No, but that's like, once again, like, we're really passionate about it. Like clearly love people. And
I love people. I love them. They're fabulous. They're interesting. You know, like
it's interesting. Everybody has a story, like, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has something. And, you know, even the most boring people that are online that you think, oh, they're so boring, they probably behind the scenes have such an interesting life and story as well, but just for whatever reason, they just don't, you know, showcase that. And that's okay too. You have to also respect that there's boundaries too. Cause I know, and we're about to like hit the 30 mark, but that's the thing too, is that, yeah, the vulnerability piece, all of those things, but there's also the level of boundaries and respect of also honoring that someone might be ready to open up in that way so quickly. It does take some people, you know, several times to meet with someone, and that's okay as well. You and I happen to be those people that like.
But that's one of those things. Well, I know, but that's one of those things. If they say like, I'm not comfortable sharing that right now, well, then you keep having conversations with them throughout the process. And then eventually they'll open up, because it's somebody that shouldn't care about them caring about them, that they're like, okay, I trust you now. Like I will open up to you. And then it's, even if they never share those deep, dark secrets, they still have that deeper relationship with you, because you've shown like, I will let you do what you want to do, but I just want to get to know you because you seem really cool. And like, I like you. So
and it's genuine. They know that you're not just trying to like, you know, get some intel or anything. It's just more of like, you truly want to know who you are.
It's on hopes, you know. I'm just kidding.
Now, Martin, so before we go, Martin has a comment. So he wrote, being vulnerable and genuine is the best way to create long-lasting relationships. Best relationships I've built were built while making the line to grab lunch at MBA conferences. I love that, Martin. But see, then that means that he has that gift too, where, you know,
where you just look up across the table and you're like, hey, what do you do? Or like, who are you? Like, I don't care what you do. We'll talk about that in 10 minutes. But like, who are you really as a person?
Yeah. No, I love it. And this is fantastic. And then someone had asked if this, Kathy was wondering if they were being recorded and distributed afterwards. They are. So this is going to turn into an audio podcast as well. And then it'll sit on Shred Media's YouTube channel. I think that's correct, Al, but they do live on.
Yeah. Aren't they on the LinkedIn too? They like show
up on LinkedIn. And then I always put it on my featured. So you can go to my profile. Yeah. And then all my shows are featured on there, which is easy too. So for sure. But I just wanted to say, obviously, thank you to you, Sarah. But I also love when people come in and add value through their comments and engage. And so for me, that's really important. So I absolutely love that. So thank you to everyone that showed up today. And any last parting words, Sarah?
Oh, that's hard. I don't know. But I mean, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited that we were able to talk about, you know, life things and people. I think, you know, make those uncomfortable, you know, steps to getting to know other people, and you'll build relationships that you never thought that you could build, that you'll cherish forever. Like I have friends that I met my first year in the industry that I still have. And even though it's like a weird friendship, like they'll never leave me. So
yeah. I love it. Love it. Well, thanks again, everyone. And hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday and rest of your week. And hopefully I'll get to meet some of the folks that are in the audience face to face. Just we'll have to make sure that we like really say our names like several times. And now our secret's out.
No, for sure. But thanks again, Raquel. Thanks, everybody.